30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the Devil Inside the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a spoof parody horror movie. The movie is about this house where this dad kills basically the cast of the artist and basically the daughter. She comes back to live in this house that she used to live in. Years later, she's a grown-ass adult now, and basically the house is experiencing paranormal activity, and it is basically found footage, and everything is kind of just through cameras like Paranormal Activity. It is basically just a spoof of Paranormal Activity with just a bunch of pop culture references. It isn't like a whole bunch of different horror movies like the scary movies, but yeah, just mainly Paranormal Activity for sure. And that's about the plot. As classic, these movies are just so out there that it's just hard to describe in words, right? Words. It's just definitely better to be watched. So basically in the review, I'm just going to try to talk about as many of the pop culture references that I can remember. And as always, if you want to know all of them, you can look them up. But yeah, so my review to, let's do this, 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the Devil Inside the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And unfortunately, this movie was just doing way too much. Honestly, like, the acting wasn't bad, and production wasn't bad. This just is a classic. The writing was just not there. A lot of the jokes just weren't funny, and like 85% of all the jokes were just sexual jokes. They didn't really mix the jokes up. The writing was just like, all the writers knew how to do was to make sexual jokes, which sexual jokes can be funny, but when the whole movie is basically that and they're not really mixing it up like that, kinda definitely sucked. Yeah, just not the best writing. And that's what these parody spoof movies, like, that's what made the first couple scary movies so good. Just the writing was so strong. The writing was not good in this, unfortunately. Yeah, like I said though, the acting wasn't bad. The production wasn't bad. Nothing, it was all pretty good. But when it came down to just the jokes, they were just stale, which, I mean, that's literally what these movies are, is jokes. So like, if you don't have good jokes in your joke movie, not really that good. So yeah, I mean, some of them were funny. There were a couple that I laughed at, but like I said, the grand scheme of things, it was just a bunch of just lame sexual jokes. And the ones that were funny were basically when they didn't do anything sexual, but the whole movie was kind of sexual. Weird. Oh man. Yeah. So, pop culture references. I know I literally just said that, but there was so many. It's like hard to remember all of them. They're basically shooting pop culture references out left and right. There was, oh man, it was just basically a bunch of just pop culture references. I mean, just from like commercials, things like that. It had nothing to really do with like scary movies. It could have just been anything to everything. Yeah, and I'm not really even gonna go into it like that, because the movie wasn't honestly really that good, and I don't even care, to be honest. So, oops, sorry to disappoint you. My recommendation for 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the Devil Inside the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Oh, jeez. What a title, right? And, I mean, honestly, it's between not recommended and kinda recommended. Uh, Maybe if I didn't literally just watch the scary movies before this, it would have been a little funnier. But after watching basically some of the best parody movies ever, and then watching this, which is pretty mid, it definitely fell flat. But I mean, they're just good, funny movies. So, I'm not going to be a hater, and I'm just going to say I would kind of recommend it. As I'm pretty sure some of the stuff would be funny to somebody. And yeah, just definitely do not watch the scary movies before this, as they're just way superior. So I would kind of recommend this.